Appreciate the chance to spend a little bit of time with you this afternoon. So I've had the privilege of working with TC Controls now for about 4 years, and it's been fun watching the company grow. And that's literal as well as a little bit of a pun there, since we are speaking about grow controls. So
Correct.
One of the things I'd like to do is just so any potential candidate who listens to our conversation here will know is a little bit about you, a little bit of your perspective of the culture of the company. Then we'll move into the role itself and your department and how it's growing. I know you've been with TC Control since the very beginning. If you could just share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting story, at least for me anyways. I've met Eric back in late 1998, actually, when we were working together for a small electrical contractor. And he came up to me one day and he said, hey, Warren, you want to learn controls? And I said, sure. At the time, I was doing big services and fire alarm systems, and controls was a niche that I really was interested in learning. And I've kind of been with Eric ever since. Over the years, those early years, we were owned by several different mechanical contractors that either went belly up or failed in some sense. Eric decided in 2005 that he was just going to take the company over. He bought the company and started TC Controls. And I've been with him ever since. And so even though TC Controls has only been around since 2005, Eric and I have a little bit of a longer stretch learning the control aspect of building management systems and whatnot. I worked my way up through the field as an installer to a field supervisor, and now I am Director of Field Operations for TC Controls.
Now, in your role as Director of Field Operations, explain what that exactly means, please.
So, field operations, or my position with the company, is I oversee all the projects, what's happening in the field. I determine whether the projects are going smoothly. I identify problems with either drawings or the engineering side and help solve those issues so that we have a smooth and successful outcome on these projects. I also manage the schedules, manage employee reviews. I'm involved in project meetings, general day-to-day operations of anything that pertains to the field.
Okay. And so would that be, say, a K through 12 application as well as a cannabis grow facility?
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
We focus mainly on Johnson Controls, building management systems, Argus grow control systems for greenhouse applications, which would be lettuce, vegetables, herbs, flowers, to cannabis grow facilities.
Tell us a little bit about TC Control's entree into the cannabis grow space.
So a few years ago, we were doing a BMS project for a national cannabis grower, and they asked us if we could install a system that they were looking at, and that system was an Argus grow control system. And Eric and I were in a meeting, and they pushed the drawings over to us. I took one look at it, and Eric asked if I thought we could install it and make it work, and I said, most definitely. And that was our initial kickoff into the into the cannabis grow control systems. We made a lot of mistakes. We fixed them. We learned a whole bunch about this type of equipment. We've learned what it takes to actually grow, whether it be vegetables, cannabis, or flowers, what it takes to grow these plants in an indoor environment. And it took a few years before we really started to catch our grip and make it happen. And we also integrate. Oh,
that was what year?
Oof. That was, I'm going to say, 2012.
So going on quite a while. So yeah, you've had a chance to make a lot of mistakes. Like today with that industry just really, I mean, taking off like gangbusters with all the states approving either recreational or mechanical or medical, and all the opportunities. There are now these other firms trying to enter the market, and they're making all the mistakes. But you're known now for being the experts in the business. Correct. So talk to us a little bit about the competitive advantage that brings to you guys.
So one competitive advantage that we have at TC Controls is our ability to integrate a BMS system or a Johnson Control system with an Argus grow control system itself. So we've got it to the point where our BMS systems that control heating, cooling, and ventilation, and we marry that with the grow controls. So they talk to each other. There's many companies that try and they continue to fail at what we do.
And that would cost the grower time and money.
Time and money and risk of crop. And the biggest failure you can have is a crop threatening risk, because especially in cannabis, there's no room for error. Absolutely no room.
Now, in a prior conversation, you and I had the chance to talk about some of the really cool variables that impact cannabis, like lighting. I believe you mentioned something about the way the lighting needs to be controlled to give it somewhat of a sun up, the sun down effect. Share a little bit about that, because I found that fascinating.
So for the plants to grow and live a happy life, we try to duplicate its natural surroundings as best as possible. Now, certain growers have different techniques. Not all growers are exactly the same. They all come from different walks of life, different education. They all have different recipes, but most growers, they like the sun up, sun down type lighting control, meaning if the lights are scheduled to come on at 6 in the morning, they'll start at 6 in the morning, but they'll start at a low intensity, and they'll gradually rise to a full intensity. A few hours later, they'll stay at the intensity level that the grower chooses, whether it be 80%, 90%, 100%. And then later in the afternoon, as the sun goes down, the lights would actually start dimming down, which creates a natural life cycle for the plant.
Now, I would think that as that lighting heats up and the intensity peaks about noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that probably impacts the HVAC system as well.
It does, and that's the beauty of integrating the BMS with the Argus systems, because the BMS systems recognize the heat, the humidity, and it gives a chance for the room to stabilize and the air handling equipment to keep the room under control. So there are certain temperatures and humidity ranges that especially cannabis plants like, and those are set in the programs based on the equipment, and the equipment needs to be sized accordingly to make sure they have enough capacity to take on the extra heat load from the lights and the extra humidity that is introduced into with the plants. Because the plants do perspire, they do give off moisture, which can cause spikes in humidity.
And that probably impacts mold and things like that.
Correct. If humidity is out of control, the room, it'll be the entire room, will run the risk of different types of molds and mildews, and it gives insects a place to thrive if there are any in the plants.
I see.
So,
Wow.
So temperature, so the room itself, it really needs to be dialed in. There's not a whole lot of room for error as far as temperature, humidity, light levels, CO2. We also control how much CO2 gets put into the room. It's usually around 1,500 parts per million. We try to maintain that to keep the plants happy. If they're happy, they're going to grow, and you'll have a successful room.
So I know we're at a point now where different things happen today than it did just even pre-pandemic, because and being with you guys now for 4 years, I brought several people on board to be on the grow controls team. So tell me today, if tomorrow an opportunity were to come in for a grow controls facility, kind of walk us through that process. Exactly, does it come from Argus? Does it come from a grower, an engineering firm, all of the above? And then once you get it, what do you do with it?
It could come from all of the above. We do have national accounts that request our service in multi-states. Their goal is to copy and operate each facility exactly the same, using the same equipment, using the same recipes and whatnot. So they ask us to go and we do expansions for our national customers. We start new facilities. We can also get leads from Argus. They send us leads of customers or engineering firms that seek out design and implementation of these types of systems. And I believe it's because that we're on the leading edge of the indoor grow systems that they seek us out. We have a great reputation with facilities and customers, and I believe that we come highly recommended.
Along these lines, I think it's important for anybody who listens to our conversation here to know that another cool thing about what you guys are doing is this. With climate change, the food situation in the world is changing. And
That's
so y'all did a really cool project with Springworks Farms up in Maine, which has led us into tilapia, and that's a whole nother conversation that's really cool. But y'all are becoming known in the entire indoor farming space, or vertical farming, or greenhouse farming, several synonyms there. So talk to us a little bit about outside of cannabis, your involvement in this area.
Well, like you mentioned, we installed a system at Springworks Farm. He grows organic lettuce and herbs, and he raises tilapia. The product that he sells, you'll find it in like Whole Foods supermarkets. You'll find it in Hannaford's and various supermarkets throughout this area. We also do flowers. We have a customer in Sudbury, Massachusetts that has a large greenhouse that has an Argus system, and he grows flowers, geraniums, all different kinds of flowers to make arrangements, and you probably see those throughout, Home Depots and Lowe's and things like that.
So we recently had the chance to bring on an electrical controls professional,
Mhm.
but so now we're adding to the team.
Yes.
Tell us, we know that this is a travel role because it's going to be home base wherever this person lives is
Right.
where that person will fly out of and go to facilities. So talk to us now, please, about what this person's job is going to be once they get trained and go through Argus training and other things to really learn the systems themselves, and now they're ready to almost be on their own.
Yes.
Tell us what maybe a typical month or week or month would look like for somebody.
Okay, so when a project begins, because we're not licensed electrically in other states, our role is strictly terminate our equipment and start and commission the panels, whether they be BMS panels or Argus controls. So electricians, usually it's the site electricians that get hired to do all our piping and all of our wire pulling. We send that particular contractor all the documents that they need. I'll do site visits to ensure that they understand the documents, view the project, answer any questions, show them examples of other projects and how they look so they have an idea of what the end product should look like, and work with them until they're actually ready to have a remote electrician or technician come out and start terminating the equipment. Once the equipment is terminated and powered, we'll have visibility through our computer networks to ensure that we can see everything or have basic communications with everything. We can see temp sensors, we can see humidity, we can turn things on, we can turn things off. And at that point, we work very closely with Argus control people to make sure that the programming is correct. We do have people on site that can program Argus equipment and ensure that it's all going to run seamlessly. Once the irrigation systems get up and running, we'll commission those as well to make sure that we have the proper recipes, we have the proper pH, EC content, make sure we have proper flow. We ensure that all the equipment of the irrigation room, such as the pump skids, ozone generators, reverse osmosis equipment, clean in place equipment, make sure that it's all enabled and it's running. And we work very closely with the manufacturers of that equipment as well. We're boots on the ground to ensure that everything starts smooth. So the role of this technician would be to his first visits to the site would be terminate the panels. Next visits would be getting the panels powered up, communicating, start doing some hardware checkpoints, checkout, getting in touch with our Argus people to ensure that all the software is working and enable these points through software to ensure that the program is going to work.
Okay. And then, so some hands-on, some project management, kind of overseeing subs.
Exactly.
And then as we get near the end of the project, I imagine walking through with commissioning agents and those things.
That is correct.
Then now, when we turn it over to the client, what role does TC Controls play in terms of the service of everything after that?
As with any project, there's always tweaking. There's always there's always little things that come up that, either the grower doesn't understand or they may need training. Either we'll supply the training or Argus will supply training for these growers. There could be adjustments to light schedules. It could be adjustments to the fertigation system. There's a wide variety of little chads here and there that we stay involved in. We do that more on a corporate level. By that time, our remote tech would probably be on another project, but if he needs to go back to help for whatever reason, if something else needs to be wired or any kind of equipment failures or anything like that, he would probably go back and work on that as well.
Okay. So obviously, whatever specific training is needed to be provided to the person hired will be done. But in general, kind of, if you could just describe what the minimum skill set basket should look like that this person should bring to the table.
Sure. Minimum skill set, if the person is licensed electrically, that's a huge plus. There are times where there may be some troubleshooting involved using a digital multimeter, knowing how electricity works, knowing signals like 4 to 20 milliamp signals and 0 to 10 volt analog signals, how to recognize those. That person, if they have some sort of an electrical background, that's a huge plus. Okay, it's not necessary that they know how to bend pipe. It's not necessary that that they hang J hooks or all that is going to be done for us. So his basic responsibility would be to terminate panels, terminate end devices, which he'll be fully trained. This new person would probably be working with a more experienced person for a few projects until he gets the feel and sees how things go and how things progress. The cannabis side is a little bit different because they really have hard deadlines that they don't really vary too much from unless there's issues in construction. If they say they're going to put plants in a room on March 15th, that's the day plants are going in the room. And that's the area that we pretty much need to concentrate so that we can meet that schedule.
Okay. Now, if they aren't licensed, but are close, we're still good there.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as they have a basic understanding of electricity, if they can read, multimeters, know how to troubleshoot, know how electricity works, that is a huge bonus.
Okay. Now, to what degree should our candidate already understand controls?
To what degree? They should have a basic understanding of how a control system works.
Okay. Do they need to specifically know Johnson controls?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Our panels are very intuitive. Our drawings are very simple. They're very user-friendly. The Johnson control piece, they'll pick up just as well and just as fast as the Argus controls.
Okay. All right. And now, on the travel, one of the things that TC Controls does, it's somewhat unique, is the tax-free per diem. Tell us a little bit about that.
So if we have someone sign up for our travel person, they'll get a $500 tax-free travel per diem that they can use. Their travel includes all expenses. Their travel includes hotels, car, anything that they need while they're away from home. The travel begins on a Monday. We'll fly in on Monday. We fly home on Friday. Sometimes it could be multiple weeks in a row. Sometimes it could be a week and then home for 1 or 2 weeks until the project catches up, and then back out again. They may go to 2 different sites at any given time. We have sites that are sometimes pretty close together that you can drive to. So if you fly into, say, Capitol Heights, Maryland, Centerville, Maryland is maybe an hour away, and it's a very easy drive to get to 2 different facilities.
Warren, it's a pleasure to speak with you. I've enjoyed our conversation today and the previous ones we've had. And anything as we conclude here that you can think of that I haven't thought to ask or we haven't stated yet that might be interesting for someone to know?
I mean, the control world is ever changing. We strive to be the most technology advanced company in what we do. We are basically a technology company in a construction world. We bring technology to our customer to simplify and to help them become the best and the most accurate that they can be. And those states that I mentioned, as these states become legal for cannabis, it would just increase our business. And also, it doesn't have to be cannabis. It could be vegetables and lettuce and herbs and flowers and other types of indoor grows. We're looking at branching out into more critical space environments, such as labs, clean rooms, pharmaceutical type facilities, because when you think about it, cannabis and indoor grows are critical space environments. So we already have a niche in that market, and we would like to expand that niche to go into things like pharmaceutical, clean rooms for, testing, things like that. So
you're right. I mean, there is a very clear correlation there. So that's really exciting because, I mean, PC Controls, y'all are going to go from a small regional Massachusetts, or not even regional, but a small town Massachusetts firm to regional to even national. And I know some exciting things Chris has shared with me and about the future growth of the company.
Amazing. And I'd also like to add that we do have other remote employees that fit into our schedule very well. And they're remote as far as British Columbia, Wichita, Kansas, and Michigan. And we would like to add to that team.
All right. Warren, I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you here and bringing some good people.
Great. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you. Bye.